Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with Kaiserreich. Okay, and of course we're playing the Kaiserreich itself, German Empire, the German Empire, yes. Okay, so we are going to continue this. Explore the weird and wonderful, twisted, I don't know, world of Kaiserreich. Okay. Downfall and stability. Yes, we are losing stability. Replace low stability with very low stability. Oh yes. Can we make it through this unstable times? We may not. We may break out in civil wars or other fun things. Okay, we got basic machine tools and machine gewehr improvements. Okay, so we're gonna put 2% better. We're gonna go with this first. And we're still very early in the game, so we've got MG08 stroke 15s, which we should have really already had, but okay. We still haven't gotten radios yet, so let's do basic and get radios for our troops. Okay, the Papal Conclave. Catholic faithful in Rome breathe a sigh of relief as the Sistine Chapel chimney billows forth white smoke, signifying the election of a new pope. A short time later, it was announced that the pious and popular Eugenio Cardinal Preselli had become His Holiness Pope Pius the 12th, leader of the Catholic Church and head of the state for the Italian Federation. Okay, so we have stability, as I was talking about it in last episode, a stable path for the transition of government. It can happen in emergencies, like we saw with the Kerensky assassination. It could simply happen in sort of time-honored fashions, like, you know, when the king or the pope dies and there'll be a replacement. Or, of course, it can happen when things aren't going so well or on a scheduled time basis to elect new members. But having a societal agreed-upon method to do that are really sort of fundamental. And without that agreed upon method, things really start to break down. Okay, our economy in shambles after Black Monday. Our colonial empire has been under fairly harsh scrutiny. The main territory has been under the main territory that has been under examination is Crete. Crete is larger and harder to defend than Malta, and the upkeep is higher as well. To help our deficit, it has been proposed that we establish, or we essentially sell the island to either the Ottomans or the Greeks. What shall we do? Okay, well, from previous experience and as well as people informing me, generally speaking, we're going to either we or our allies are going to go to war with Greece, likely in a short time. I don't know that that's certain, but I think that's a likely thing. The Ottomans were our allies, but whether it's role-playing the Kaiserreich or whether it's my personal view, I don't want to put essentially European Christians, the Cretans, under Islamic rule. Because the Ottoman Empire, Osman's Empire, some people might want to just, oh, it's the Turkish Empire. Yeah, but it was also the Caliphate. It in itself was the Caliphate. And so we have the Ottomans here in Cyprus controlling the majority, and it is a majority Christian population there, as well as many other Greeks, which I don't particularly like, but it is a religious based empire. That is their justification. It's the Caliphate. So we are going to offer it to Greece. So instead of digging ourselves deeper in the hole, we're going to let the Greeks have it. That is why I knew that was coming. Why I abandoned Crete as a defensive situation. So we got 50 plus power out of that, so it's helping us dig out our hole. There is, oh, well, let's see, George II, I believe, is head of state for Greece. I believe he is a German princeling. Escaping me exactly which family right offhand. But so, although he may very much promote things Greek, he is potential an ally. Though, of course, like I say, promote things Greek, so if it's a conflict between Bulgaria and Greece, he very well may, or likely could, go with Greece over what any possible loyalties he has to us. Yesterday's successful revolution has yesterday a successful resolution was achieved in Siam by a clique of officers and intelligentsia who called themselves Kana Ratstun, the People's Party. The heir to the throne and the chief of police were placed under arrest, and the king, who was not in Bangkok when the coup carried out, returned to the capital and accepted the fate of complete. Sorry about that. Completed. The present upheaval in Siam is evidently a political expression of the malaise produced by the pressures of economic crisis as they try to move themselves from an absolute monarchy towards self-government after securing a parliamentary constitution. Whether if the provisional government set up by themselves will prosper or dissolve to a dictatorship is still up in the air. Okay, interesting. Siam is going through upheavals. I very much see this as a time for us just to ride out the storm, not looking to, because right now we have deficit manpower, we have gotten into the green in all of our basic production, but we can't even, well, I guess we did briefly were able to deploy a destroyer, but we are having trouble even deploying our destroyer, so it is not the time to us just take on a lot of additional wars or other conflicts. The Deutsches Kaiserreich Abyssinium Einsbahn, again I'm hopefully making you Germans laugh well, railway was established in the earliest 20th century, linking Addis Ababa to Djibouti after a series of German-backed expansions. It is currently mainly used to transport ore from the Congo Basin in Middle Africa to Djibouti. Now the general economic downturn in the world has meant that more or less ore is being purchased, resulting in fewer transports for the DPAEB. Nice short initials, Germans, good going there. The situation has now reached such a level that it is nearing bankruptcy. Okay, you could sell it, keep it running. We've just gotten through the Crete thing. We're going to try to keep it running here, people. I know this is just like sort of get out of it a little bit and then boom, right back in. I don't know specifically why we would run a railway through Addis Ababa to Djibouti as opposed to just going out here, but whatever. But our new colonial administration in Africa has seen gains in light industrialization using cheap and even forced labor for industrial production. This has significantly reduced the cost of manufacture and provided us with additional equipment. Okay. Nice. Well, again, we should really be limiting the amount of forced labor in colonial situations. Better to run through the consent of the people. You may not be consenting to our governorship, but their general actions, and pay them. Whether it's paying them in food and money and cloth and just anything. Okay, imperial restructuring. Okay, that should help dig us out a little bit of our deficit. Okay. That, when I tried it, had some sort of negative aspects that I didn't really like. So we're going to organize the youth to try to get some more manpower. Is that the Kaiser youth in essence? Okay, ethnic conflict in Sri Lanka. Ceylon Island is settled by Sinhalese and Tamils, who have battled for reign over the island for ages. Recent crises have caused even more havoc and disobedience, so our presence there is still in danger. Oh, good. This, again, as we get a little more out of it. Yeah, we want more resources. Even though we have a lot of most things, except for oil. Now, are we producing any? Well, just the ones that set of ships down. The FAUD, the Freie Arbeit Union Deutschland, the Free Workers Union of Germany, I almost got that right that time, is a roof organization of several trade unions founded in 1927. They have denounced the syndicalist underground terror repeatedly and therefore have been allowed to operate until now. But the Verdeck Reichspolizei has produced definite proof that their leaders are in contact with the syndicalist organizations in other nations, such as the CNT FAI in Spain. We also suspect they may be plotting against the Kaiser, jail the leaders and ban the party, force them to go underground, or continue to allow it and get... That was sort of the bad thing I thought was having the secret police be more prominent. But, well, this is the event that, at least for the moment, hurts us the least. Might not be that way in the long run, but in the moment it hurts us the least. Okay, Poland elects a new king. Yes, traditionally the Polish monarchy for a while at least was elected, but then I think later it did move to hereditary under the Sobieskis. Is that hereditary? So maybe put it like that below if they want. Okay. For almost 2 decades, the Polish throne has remained empty after the end of the Weltkrieg. A regency council was convened to elect the new Polish king. However, constant interference and ineptitude has prevented the council from selecting a king for all those years. But now, after many weeks of intense debate inside the chambers of the Polish Regency, a decision has finally been made to elect a new monarch to the long vacant Polish throne. The coronation of J.K.M. Karol Olbrecht Habsburg Lothringen was held at the palace at Warsaw early in the morning and has been followed by parades and celebrations throughout the nation. It remains to be seen whether the new king can navigate the small Polish nation through the coming storms. Never heard of that guy before, though of course the Habsburg name was familiar. I presume it's a real person historically, not as a king of Poland. Wonder why they didn't elect a Sobieski. Was that Austrian interference or some such thing? I think the Sobieski name would still be popular in Poland. Whether that is a strong monarchy or just a figurehead monarchy, either way. Okay, unrest in the Rhineland. Workers in the Rhineland are protesting against the recent anti-leftist actions of our government, especially the well-known fraud scandal. Okay. Oh, good. Free strikers grants. Yeah, oh, good. Like I said, it was temporarily the better option, though I was very far from sure on the long run. Now it's 125 negative political versus negative 150 political. Okay, well, mechanical computing, which helps all of our research. Still just in August. Well, days. It would not hurt to upgrade our tanks, tank guy, so that seems like a good option. Okay, Sudantag. After the Franco-German War of 1870 to 1871, the Sudantag was established to celebrate our war-deciding victory at Sedan. Originally a holiday to honor the Prussian military, the Sudantag transformed into celebration of the foundation of the Reich. After the Weltkrieg, the defeat of those forces that tried to destroy it throughout every town and village, from Aachen to Memel. Every street was decorated in black, white, and red. Every bell proudly proclaimed this day of celebration. Nobility, soldiers, unnumbered veterans parade proudly through the streets, cheered by happy masses. Indeed, this is a good day, a day that reminds us of peace and prosperity we've enjoyed since forging the Reich. Okay, Ireland and Middle Europa. The Irish government has approached us asking to join our alliance. Doing so would give us both a base and a loyal ally next to Britain. How should we respond? Political power. I'm going to go not worth the trouble, because I'm trying to think here. Because yeah, man, that 40 political power looks great, but then are we ready for what Britain might think it wants to do? What France might think it wants to do? Because this is a massive, any continental power getting any sort of foothold in Ireland is almost a declaration of war for Britain. It really is. If it's independent, that's one thing. If they got a foothold, like basing, so I'm going, it's not worth the trouble. At least that's my thoughts on it. I'm trying to read this as I would as a historian and political analyst, and looking at that way. Okay, organize the youth. Very good. Now, well, we've got the youth organized. Eastern Promises. Let's go with, let's go with Institute Verdict Rechtspolizei. That will get us political power and probably cause a lot of other bad things to happen. We're still barely in the building, just going back through here. Ma Click declared war on Mongolia. Okay. So, Ma Click here, going after Mongolia. And it causes trouble because we are currently have direct ownership of Indochina, or a good chunk of it, and have a puppet out here of for us. Okay, the end of American democracy. Okay, surprising news arrived from the United States of America. Today, President Herbert Hoover, whose administration has proven incapable of stabilizing a divided country and calming down the CSA and AFP militants, has invited General Douglas MacArthur to take the reins of the country with a junta of military men and corporate representatives. President MacArthur is a strong proponent of an iron fist rule and opposes both syndicalism and American pacifism. Large-scale crackdowns on the enemies of America have already been reported. Well, actually, I think Herbert Hoover is a rather good president. I don't know why he would be incapable of stabilizing the country. And I don't know why the United States would be overly divided. And Herbert Hoover is a Republican, and you know, that sort of CSA, if that's sort of Ku Klux Klan speak, they're the Democrats, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, so there's October. Let's improve our artillery. Okay, Rhineland strikers cave in. The slow war of attrition between us and the strikers has been won by the government. The strikers, seeing little success in their efforts, are about to call off the strike. Great. Oh, good. Some additional political power, which will be taken away in 5 minutes or 5 seconds by something else. Okay, riots and protests at Rangoon University, dissatisfaction with the lack of popular involvement, and the government has sparked some of the great demonstrations in Burma since their own independence in 1926, stemming from the great and prestigious Rangoon University radicalized left students. Okay, so follow these developments. So now Burma is having its problems. That's a commune, okay. That's the Dominion of India under the British. And Princeton Federation, so okay. Oh good, now we have a bunch of men. Okay, institute Predigt Polizei. Okay, now that we have the manpower, that's good. Let's look at our equipment. We built up some, including some tanks, some trucks, artillery. So, I think it's now time to train a Panzer Force, a motorized division. Yeah. And a 2 infantry divisions. Okay. So I'm not sure where we're going to want, what direction to send Those will put them in Berlin, so essentially located. Yeah, I know I could just hit the +1, but habits, shall we say. We're going to use these guys to help garrison some of our directly and indirectly controlled lands. Some of our allies may be getting a bit of a garrison. So, ban French organizations and disrupts political power. Eastern promises. Yeah, let's do Eastern promises. Now we're only at negative 201. So far that's looking stable. I don't really know if that means one side to the other is really winning. The United States declared war on the combined syndicalists of America. Oh, so that's the CSA thing. Dispersed industry. Good. So we have dispersed industry. Let's start some air research. So what does the United States look like? Okay, the syndicalists. Sort of the industrial heartland. American Union State. I didn't say this before in the earlier one. American Union State. The people in this part of the country, in the United States, nowadays may be changed, but at this time, they would abhor the term union. That's like saying the or the we hate ourselves thing. So I don't know what they would call themselves, and it may be, I don't know. Well, let's click on them and see. Okay, Huey Long was, governor of Louisiana, rather corrupt. Would not ever have wanted to call themselves the American Union State. Union is, especially well, up until the 70s and even to some degree today, union is just the most bad, worst, negative thing you could be there politically. Yeah, you might be in a union, like a industrial union or whatever else, but they would never politically call themselves the Union State because the Confederacy fought the Union. I once asked Congressman Charlie Wilson, you may have seen the movie Wilson's War. I once asked Charlie Wilson, why didn't he run as a Republican? Most all of his policies are in line with the Republican Party. Because my grandfather would roll over in his grave, or words very close to that effect that he said to me. Because it didn't matter what the policies were in the part of Texas at that time, he could not be a Republican because the Republicans were the bad, evil party. So he was a Democrat. Nowadays that's changed in Texas because Charlie Wilson was essentially a conservative in Texas. And so that has changed, and definitely during the Civil Rights era, through most of the Civil Rights era, the South was firmly Democratic. It was only sort of in the post-Civil Rights era when the Democratic Party really nationally started to favor heavy welfare for black people. Did the South go to the Republicans, but only grudgingly and slowly. So American Union State. You can call it the American State. You can call it, you don't have to put Confederate in there if you're thinking that this isn't white power over black people, or some other sort of thing like that. if you're thinking of something else. They just would not have the term union within it. American progressive state, maybe, if you're looking for something that way. Okay, food from Middle Africa. Thanks to the initiative of the new colonial administration, the Deutsches Mittelafrika is now producing grains and canned food in significant quantities enough so that it relieves some of the pressure on our domestic industry. Without new colonial administration, this kind of benefit would be impossible. Okay, so we get equipment. American Civil War. Yeah, we'll send some volunteers. No, especially with compared to lack of political power. Okay. We'll intervene in that sort of way. The Second American Civil War. To uneducated foreigners, it might seem like the crisis in the United States happened out of nowhere, but experts agree that it was a civil war years in the making. Ever since the collapse of the New York Stock Exchange in 1925, the economy of the United States has been in constant downturn. Now the United States has devolved into a three-way civil war between loyalists of the old government, syndicalist states of America, and the conservative xenophobic American Union state. Like I say, if it's a conservative xenophobic thing, they would not ever have the term union in it. It may be the American state, but never union. Because at this time, in 1936, there are still Confederate War veterans alive. I have some photos, and we'll be part of an event someday. I'm dealing with Confederate and Union veterans meeting again for an anniversary at the Battle of Gettysburg. I think in 36, but maybe 38 or some year like that for this. So there are still Confederate soldiers alive, veterans alive in the South. And you're never calling it union. I know I'm griping on this, but it just really is not appropriate. Yeah. There have already been reports of arriving volunteers from Europe to fight for a faction of their liking. The Second American Civil War might just be the first of many battlefields between the great powers of the world in this tough time for humanity. Democracy prevails in the Philippines, having just achieved independence from the United States. The Philippines face today perhaps one of the most serious challenges any new country faced, inspired by the combined syndicalists of America and the Bahiratian Commune, I presume that's of Italy. Disgruntled army officers marched on Manila to support rebellious peasants and workers. Luckily, their attempts were quickly thwarted as loyalist units in the army reaffirmed their support for and intervened in favor of the legitimate democratic Filipino government and drove the rebellious army out of the capital, ending the threat of syndicalist coup before it could be even hatched. It's the best way to deal with civil war, stop them before they ever really start. It's like a big sandstorm over Africa right now. That's really what that means, is that there should be to some of the regions.
Bereit zum Ausrücken!
Sandstorm effects. Just extremely hot. Oh, it's over now. So. Okay, Korea asks for aid. The Korean government in exile has approached the German government for military and political aid in retaking the land from Japan. This would cause much grief to the Japanese should we go to war with them, but it might also cause other problems for us should Korea jump to the gun. Okay. A great place to drop off left equipment. Full support should be given. We're more interested in stability right now. Japan was an enemy in the First World War, mainly to try to get these islands, and might be an enemy again. But at the moment, I don't want to cause conflict. Hans von Schneck. Hans von Schneck. Hans von Sieg ties. Sorry, I'm butchering this one. Our Chief of General Staff, Hans von Schick, has died today in Berlin. The hero of the intervention in China passed away peacefully in the city of our nation's mourning loss. Okay. So we can reform the military command, but we have no command points. How useful is that? We're going to end the episode here, so I want to thank everyone for watching, of course, and thank you for liking the videos. I really do appreciate that. And of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. I love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.